Hello and welcome back to another windy day and another video. It must seem like me, all I ever do on some of these videos is whinge about online plants and how they get delivered. But no, I promise I'm not going to whinge too much. I've had some more marginal plants for my relined pond that I've been doing over the winter months come today, and I have to say, like a lot of this stuff you buy online, they came quite late yesterday afternoon, and they looked as though they'd been coming since, well, I don't know how many days, and they looked in a bit of a sorry condition. But I've took them out, I put them in some buckets of water overnight, and they have come round a little bit. You know, plants, as I always say, plants are very robust and will take a lot of knocks. But I think these companies really have to, you know, take on board that, and people don't really mind that much. If you're buying plants, you really need them sending 24-hour delivery, if that's at all possible. I know sometimes they get let down by the delivery companies, but you know, plants want as little time as possible in transit. Anyway, I'm going to use these little plastic baskets. There's no really hard and fast way of doing this. How I do it, you know, you could line the baskets with plastic if you wanted, you know, to stop soil falling out. I'm not too worried about this. This is a nature pond. There's not going to be any fish in here. So here we have a, this is, oh dear, look at that leaf looks, I think we'll take that leaf off before it rots off. This is a water marigold, so what I shall do, I shall get some quite heavy soil from our garden, fill that up, you know, to a reasonable depth, then set it like a normal plant. So I'll go and fill my basket up first and foremost. So I've just filled it up with some quite heavy soil. Some of our soil here is quite heavy, it's quite silty clay, as I've said before. And then I should just set this, you know, like a normal plant in there. We'll get a little bit more soil there just to put round it. Don't want the worms. They won't like the water much. And that's it, you know, that's our marginal plant set. Now what I do, what I've always done with pond plants is I like to get some washed gravel and then just put it round the top. That stops the, first of all it gives a bit more weight to the pot, and it also stops that soil on the top floating away to some degree. And also, like little creatures, particularly like newts, you know, or other things, you know, beetles and what have you, like to lay their eggs in like a gravelly kind of environment like that. You're trying to imitate, you know, the bottom of perhaps a little stream, you know, in nature, and that might well be a gravelly, sandy bottom. So there we go. As I say, not the best condition that arrived in, but hey ho, I'm sure it'll do all right. And then this is a marigold. This wants to go not too deep in the water. It's a marginal. It wants to come on the edge. So I'll try and find it. You know, I've got some ledges, and my trouble is my ledges aren't very level now. Over the years, you reline a pond, and the ledges, you know, were nicely cut out. You know, like that, you know, when you start a pond, but over the years it's been relined 3 times now overall, so that you tend to lose a nice flatness, but I'm sure I can find a place to put that. So I'll go and set that in the water now, and I'll show you where I put it at the end of the video, obviously. On this little basket here, as this has got quite big holes, I will line this, you know, with a bit of the cut-off pond liner, and it's just then a question there again. There's no hard and fast rules how you do this. It's just a question of you're basically trying not to stop, too much of the soil coming out. Obviously, when all this knits in and grows, maybe not this year. Depends how quick they grow, but certainly next year, you tend to lose the baskets anyway. They just disappear, and I'm recycling. These are the old baskets that were in before that I've knocked out, and that's kind of fine. It's just a little bit of line, and we can trim that rest off. Obviously when our plant's in there. I think I'm going to put 2 in here. This is a kind of cotton grass, I believe. Has like little fluffy tufts on, and we'll put one of those there. And then this is another. Yes, I'm not 100% sure what that is, but trust me, it's a marginal plant. Obviously, there again, it got slightly damaged in transit, I feel. If we cut. That's it. Then I should just fill that with some nice, some of our nice sort of clay type soil, and there we go. I've filled it up with some more soil, topped it up with some nice claggy soil, trimmed the rest of the plastic off that you could see, and just put a bit of gravel on top, and that should roar away, we hope. So I'll go and position this now in the pond. As I say, this is again a marginal. It doesn't, it's not like a water lily that wants to drop right into the pond. This wants to sit, on the edge of the pond. There again, I think that's like an ornamental miniature rush, but we'll plant it. We'll go for it and see what happens. I mean, it is early for pond plants. Obviously, like a lot of perennial and garden plants, pond plants do die back in the winter. So obviously, it's been quite. Although I say we've not had a cold winter, stuff hasn't really. It's not. We haven't had many sunny, warm days. There've been some quite, and it's just a question of a little bit more gravel on the top just to tidy that up. And as I say, it does weight it down. I feel keeps the basket a bit more steady, because I'm having problems at the moment with the 2 ducks that like to come on this pond this time of year. It's the silly season for ducks when they start to mate, and they tend to come up from the river, and I have 2 males and 1 female chasing each other around, and this year I'm just trying to. I'm having to shoo them off. Not nastily, but just the fact that I don't. With these marginal plants, what you'll see in a minute or two. I've set some of the old plants back, some of my big old yellow iris that were in the pond, which I've divided up and reset into baskets. But the rest of the pond, there's probably over £100 worth of marginal plants here. Now, I don't want those, being knocked into the deep water of the pond by the ducks. So it's just unfortunate this year. I'm having to try and keep on top of the ducks, and I'm sure other people with ponds probably wouldn't have that problem, but never mind. It's I suppose it's a nice problem to have wildlife in your garden, so we certainly shouldn't complain. And there we go. I will find a home for that somewhere, and we'll set that in and see what that does. Now this last one I found quite amusing, because this is a plant I know as Creeping Jenny. It has a little yellow flower with kind of white speckles on it as well, and I really didn't think that was an aquatic plant, but I stand corrected. Strangely enough, the other side of the pond where my primulas are, I once grew some of this from seed and set it there, and it runs riot over that other side, and I end up pulling armfuls of it every year. So I'm going to be quite careful with this, and going to probably put this into a normal flower pot, not even put it into a one of these basket pots, and set it close up as far as I can out of the water, and try and kind of train it up the side of the pond. Well, I'll show you eventually when I've got it set. But yeah, this is Creeping Jenny. The other weed I've got is Elodia densa, and this Elodia is an oxygenating weed, and you can theoretically, they even send you some little like porcelain rings. You can just slip it round those and drop it into the pond. Doesn't actually form kind of roots as such. It just grows and makes a big clump, and it also produces, particularly when the sun's on it in the summer, you can see little bubbles streaming up from it. It is what is called an oxygenator, which is very good if you are having fish in your pond, and to try and keep the water as nice and fresh and as clean as possible and oxygenated. That's the thing about even garden ponds. They can get warm in the summer, and they can, if you've got a lot of leaves like this one used to have drop into it, and then you get sludge in the bottom, you can get a lot of methane and gas built up, which then obviously is not good for the pond, and the imbalance of the pond goes out. So you do want some oxygenating plants, and this Elodia densa is a great one. Quite tricky. I know we've had this before, and it's quite tricky to get it established, but once you do, you get a lovely big clump. So I'm hoping this is going to do okay, because there again, like everything else these days, it's not cheap, unfortunately. So we'll put that back in the bucket. Trust me, just as I come out, the sun comes out really bright again, but hopefully, you can see my kind of sweeping edge of marginal pond plants that I've been setting. Some of some of which I've set today on this video. There's a few I set the other day. The old big yellow flags there in the 3 baskets, you can see they are existing. That what I've saved, that were in the pond previous. And I've just divided them up and reset them. Obviously they can be very invasive. They are a native wetland iris flag, the yellow one. There is a new, we'll move a bit closer in a minute and I'll point a few of the plants out. I've got a new blue iris, and if you're not careful, those big yellow ones are a bit thuggish. They can take over the whole pond. You have to be really quite brutal with them when they're finished flowering. So as I say, here we've got some like variegated rush type plant. There again, I'm not 100% sure that. We've got some water mint there, which is always a good do. It has a nice purple pink flower. We've got some, these are blue iris here, hopefully, like flag iris again, and there's another one there on its own. That's a purple iris. This is a water campion, which will be quite interesting to see how that develops. There again, this is the dreaded old Creeping Jenny, which I shall probably have to take the shears to, because this goes absolutely, ballistic. Although it has a nice little yellow flower on it, and it's very easy to pull up if it gets too invasive. We've got some more water mint down here, and there again, I think this is, I can't think of the name of that, but it has a little yellow flower on it anyway. There's the plants that we did, some of the plants we did today, the marigold there, which as I say looks a bit bedraggled still how it came. It got quite damaged and the leaves got broken, but hopefully, and this is like the cotton grass there, and over the other side there, the other side of the iris, I've got some mini bulrushes. Now there again, you have to be careful with bulrushes. You don't want to plant the big old native kind of bulrushes that you get on lakes and rivers in your pond, because there again it can be very, very invasive. And bulrushes, actually, the roots of bulrushes produce a chemical to stop other plants growing around them, and obviously then they can make huge great clumps, you know, on the edge of wetlands, on rivers and lakes. And so never ever plant, you know, native tall bulrushes in unless you've got a massive, you know, lake in your garden, then it'd be fine probably. So there's some little ones there, and some more rush, that sticky thing, which is another kind of a rush plant, and hopefully, as I say, that will fill out. And obviously then there's some, you can't see them, they're just emerging. There's some of the old water lilies that I divided up. The water is very cloudy at the moment. It will clear. Obviously the blessed ducks have stirred it up a bit when they do come here, and ponds often go like this. It's nothing to worry about. You know, the water will clear. Obviously I put soil in. I've been doing a little it has like a little waterfall feature over there, but the sun's, you can't perhaps see that, where the water will be pumped and it runs down. And so I've dropped a lot of bits and pieces into the water, which doesn't matter. You know, you don't want to worry about that. This pond is 1.5 metres deep in the middle, so it's quite deep. And I'm happy to say there's a lot of newts. I was hoping we might see one come to the surface when I was here with the camera, but you get some lovely reflections on water in the garden. Ponds are a lot of high maintenance, but this is a nature pond. It doesn't take too much looking after, really. But the newts have returned. Obviously the newts overwinter under rocks and stones. They don't actually live in the water in the winter. So it's good to see them coming back, and you know, I'm pleased I kept the pond after all. I did think about filling it in when it needed a new liner, because it's a heck of a lot of work and expense, but it's worth doing for the birds love the water as well. And so there we go. We will follow on. We will follow these plants, and as I say, these marginals, and see how they grow. You know, I mean, some plants, sometimes you can have a lot of success with, you know, pond plants, and other times they seem to sit there and do nothing. But hopefully, if the weather comes a bit warmer, it's icy cold today. I should think the water temperature is only about +6. I've had my arm in there dropping that Elodia weed in the bottom, and my arm got froze. It was so cold, the water is. So there we go. So as always, thanks for watching. It's coming cloudy again. It looks like there's another heavy shower building up. We've had hail and all sorts today, and as I say, it's very cool out here in the wind. So I'm now done and finished for the day. So I'm going to pack up and clear up, and go and try and get my arm and hands warmed up now after being in that cold water. But as always, many thanks for watching. Do take care, and wherever you are in the world, good gardening, and I'll catch up with you very soon. Bye for now.